So let's talk. So sometimes in Hollywood, we make sequels to things, and we don't necessarily need to make a sequel to them. I don't really know if there's a rhyme or a reason to a sequel. Sometimes these sequels turn out to be good, but oftentimes we end up making sequels that have no original cast involvement, and it feels weird. It just feels weird. It feels like, why did we continue to make this story? Um, Now, some sequels, we get people back and it feels great. And even after a long period of time, we get something like Top Gun Maverick, where, as many faces that could come back did come back, and we mixed it in with new characters, and those new characters were representative of old characters. And it was just kind of a good little mix. It was nice to see Val Kilmer back, even for a few minutes. So, good film, great film. We even have, but in the animation world, we have, the straight to video sequels where we put something in theaters and then it comes around to wanting to make a sequel, and then they just made a sequel where it went straight to video, and of course the voice cast doesn't want to come back. An example of this would be Return of Jafar, which I'm giving it I'm picking a better sequel here. This is one of the better straight to video Disney sequels, more well regarded, I should say. And Robin Williams was like, no. it's like, I'm not coming back for this. However, they did keep one of the original cast members. So it was a mix of people who they cast to kind of sound like other people, mixed with people from the original cast. So both. And that's probably a solid representation. And then we also have just, there's a host of other examples. Some of them are prequels, which is how they get away with the no returning cast members. 300 Rise of an Empire would be an example of that, where, sadly, because of the way 300 is, they couldn't make a sequel to it. I don't know what that would look like. 302. But they did want to extend the 300 franchise somehow, and so they thought 300 Rise of an Empire was a good idea. It wasn't. They did the same thing with Sin City. Like, Sin City was a great film, and then years later they were like, what about Sin City: A Dame to Kill For? It's not quite the same thing, but maybe audiences will like it. We do this thing. We have this thing. So now I'm here, and I have to review Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget. And it's been 23 years since the last Chicken Run. These chickens would be dead, right? These chickens... The chickens from the original film would be dead. And I'm sure that that's part of the problem, why we have so many new voice cast members. But we also have returning voice cast members, which is why it's a valid exploration of what I just was talking about. You have old and new cast members returning here. You have the same characters returning with the addition of one new. There's one. Well, there are more new characters, I should say, but one big new character, and that's Molly, played by Bella Ramsey. Otherwise, you have the same chickens who escaped in Chicken Run, which was released back in 2000, back in the summer of Mel Gibson, when he had Chicken Run and The Patriot. Both came out in theaters. It was a good year for him. Mel Gibson was still a film star at that point. And yeah, now he's Zachary Levi. And yeah, so we're going to talk about this. It does have audio description, and it's on Netflix. And the best thing I can say about it is that Aardman returned to do this film. I have no idea what this film looks like in terms of its claymation style. That's one of the things that kind of sucks about being blind is these very unique styles. They don't translate the way in which these films are made, like stop motion films, just don't translate. There's no way to translate the craft of how they are made and what makes them so uniquely special to look at. There's a difference. There's so many films out there that, like, yeah, okay, it's just a film with a camera, it's shot, and Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher and Your Place or Mine is just, yeah, we can describe that. I know exactly what that film looks like. I can picture that. My mind has crafted and directed that film in its head. Um, Here, I just kind of, I don't know if Aardman has made any more advances, if their stuff looks well. I think the last movie of theirs that I actually visually saw was the Shaun the Sheep movie, which I thought was good. I'm not like a massive fan of Aardman, but I do like their work and I'm really respectful of their craft. I actually was not a fan of Chicken Run, the original Chicken Run. Not that I'm gonna also call it like the worst film I've ever seen. I just saw it once and never felt the need to ever see it again. It didn't do anything for me. It wasn't really funny. I didn't think it was that good. I didn't want to run out. And it was put out while I was still in high school and I was still, listen, I still watch cartoons. So films that are aimed at, I watch films of all ages. I watch films that are aimed at adults, films that are aimed at kids. I watch them all. I reviewed Paw Patrol this year, so don't give me that. You're old and this film's not made for you. So, um, everything is made for me. I'm a man child. I'm a giant person who never grew up. I'm Peter Pan. I just, unfortunately, don't look like it. Anyway, this, yeah, it's a whole new cast. It's very weird. Um, it's odd that they made choices to replace some of them, but not all of them. Like I think Lynn Redgrave is in both voice casts. Uh, cool. But why? Like, what was the decision to keep certain members and not others? Did some people just turn it down? Did they offer it to everybody? And maybe some people have died. It's been 23 years. Um, and other people turned it down. And obviously they were like, I don't know what to do about Mel Gibson. So Zachary Levi. How does Zachary Levi feel about being the substitute for Mel Gibson? Be like, so we decided not to go the Mel Gibson route. And we're trying to find an actor that sounds like Mel Gibson, and Zachary Levi, that's you. So welcome to the film. It's always so odd too because he is the only American voice in the cast, full of British voices. So it's I know that's intentional. I kind of remember Rocky's story from the original. It's amazing I remember anything from that first film because I've literally only seen Chicken Run once and I had the opportunity to rewatch it again, and I chose not to for this because I just really don't want to rewatch Chicken Run for this. I don't think it has audio description either, at least not where I saw it being hosted. I saw it hosted on Peacock, and they're promoting it. It's funny that Peacock has it on their Peacock picks right now. They're like, check it out, we got Chicken Run. But the only reason they're doing it is because Netflix has Dawn of the Nugget and they're thinking that there's a renewed interest in Chicken Run, which there probably is. But it's funny that it's on two different streaming services. It's funny that Netflix can't, like, for some reason doesn't have the rights to Chicken Run, couldn't make that happen. So you actually have to go elsewhere if you want to watch. Anyway, things I think about while watching this film where a chicken gets turned into a box of nuggets. A bucket. How's that a bucket of nuggets? Bucket of nuggets. That does happen. So if your children are easily traumatized and or eat chicken nuggets a lot, maybe this film is not for them because it does actually explain where those nuggets come from. I'm not going to say graphic detail because that would be a lie. I'm going to say a chicken enters a machine and cartoonishly comes out as chicken nuggets. So that happens in the course of the film. So there's at least one chicken death in this film, made for kids. So obviously there's this ominous sort of, chickens don't want to be eaten thing that is, and why they keep needing to escape is because we keep trying to eat them. But I don't know how people feel about that kind of stuff. You know, how kids, what do they think when they're watching films about people that we normally eat? And it's like, oh, I eat that. And maybe I don't want to anymore. Um, this is, I don't know. I don't know if this film has anything to say. I don't think it does. I don't know if this film. I'm really sure Dawn of the Nugget needs to exist. It's not like they did anything cool where they got the original cast back. It's not Top Gun Maverick. So Zachary Levi and Teddy Way Newton are the leads. They were not the leads of the original Chicken Run, and they added Bella Ramsey as Molly. So these are not people who were in the original film. So I don't know what is Chicken Run really that, has it survived that long for 23 years that we felt like we needed to make Dawn of the Nugget? All of that being said, I actually enjoyed Dawn of the Nugget slightly more today than I did remembering how I enjoyed Chicken Run seeing it in theaters back in 2000. Um, so there's that. But Chicken Run had more style to it, if that makes any sense. This is more accessible. This is more uh I don't know, Chicken Run felt like it was trying to do something. It just didn't work for me. Chicken Run felt like it was all of those war films that we saw back in the day, everything from uh I don't know, Dirty Dozen to uh TV shows like Hogan's Heroes and stuff like that, where it was just people in a POW camp, people at wartime. It kind of felt like it had that kind of vibe going to it. It was just chickens. Um, and this just feels like they start out and they're living in like chicken utopia on like an island. Don't ask me how chickens got to the island. I don't know. Um, and they just kind of, they get to free range. They just roam. There are no people there trying to eat them, and they just live about their life. And they do things like pick apples from trees. So, and then there's little Molly, who gets born. She's an egg. I guess they stop laying eggs when they go to the island because this seems like a very special experience for everybody, and there aren't a lot of chicks running around. Molly seems to be the only young one, uh, which is an interesting choice considering what chickens, they produce eggs. Uh, anyway, uh, I don't know what happened to all the others, but Molly survived, and now she's existing, and she wants to wander, and she's adventurous, and one day she wanders too far from home, and she ends up finding this other chicken, Frizzle, and Frizzle tells her about this wonderful place where the chickens go. She's heard about, and they go on an adventure, and I think it's an adventure, but basically they're going to a place where chickens are processed. But the gag here is that they are all given these collars, which Molly and Frizzle avoid getting put on them, so they can continue to have their banter. That makes them sort of like mindless and happy all the time, so that they actually have, so the people at the plant have control over them. There's something about how chickens, when they're being processed, have some like flight or fight type response that causes their muscles to tense up, which causes the meat to become dry. I scientifically, I think this sounds like ass, but it's why they justify giving this, putting collars on chickens. And so it's this mindless colony, but they're playing like mini golf, and they have like water slides, and they're trying to make happy chicken because they think if a chicken is happy to die, if they're like grateful to be chosen to die and be turned into chicken nuggets, that the chicken nuggets will taste better. I shit you not, this is the plot of the film. I'm not fucking with you. So, um, and of course, instead of breaking out, the crew from the original film has to break in, but this place is guarded ridiculously over the top for, for a chicken processing plant. Cartoonishly so. I was amused. That's one of the things that amused me. And when you find out why it is, it's, you're like, okay, well, that makes sense. Tying it back into the original film. But yeah, I don't know. It it doesn't really do anything for me. I think I've seen better animated films this year. The voice cast is fine. I just don't know. I don't know why we made changes. I don't know why we made a sequel 23 years later. I don't know why we did. There's so many questions I have about the existence of the film, about the plot. I was kind of thinking that this was going to be like a new brand of chickens. You know what I'm saying? Like inspired, like sort of within the same universe, but new chickens. No, they went with the same ones. Same chickens from the first film. So this is very much in the same universe. It just takes place 23 years later, which is a lot in chicken years. And um, the advancements in technology and everything have made their break in much harder than their break out and commence the plot. There's an old sort of like there's an older chicken. Uh, I'm assuming he was old in the first film. God knows how old he is now, but he represents sort of that like old British war vet type of thing, where he's just kind of like rambling on. He was the most entertaining character for me. He spends a lot of the movie on top of the roof talking to a snail, which I thought was great. I loved it. I, I just, I was like, it was just so random. It's just like, okay, we don't know what to do with this character, so he's going to talk to a snail. Um, and the rest of the film is just an obvious, like, break in, try to rescue. And then obviously they're like, well, we can't just rescue Molly. All of these chickens, if we don't rescue them, they're all going to become nuggets. The title phrase "Dawn of the Nugget" is used within the film, so uh, in case you're wondering where that comes from, it's it's not because they didn't come up with some cute little nickname for Molly called Nugget. It's not the rise of her. There's the phrase is used within the context of the film, not in a good way for chickens. So yes, I like I said, I didn't really like the first film, so my expectation here was low. But I don't watch trailers and stuff. I try to go into films just with the least amount of information humanly possible. So I went into this thinking this was going to be a new cast, because I everything I knew about it was that it was going to be a new voice cast. I just kind of assumed that we weren't bringing Mel Gibson back. Do I wish now, after everything, am I willing to put my foot on the line and say I wish Mel Gibson had come back? I would say if Mel Gibson was the only missing cast member, yes, I would have put him to come back. Because it just feels like Zachary Levi is trying to be Mel Gibson and not Zachary Levi. Um, he's toned down a little bit, like he watched Mel Gibson's performance of Rocky from the first film and is trying to match that level of energy. So it's not really his performance. He's trying to copy somebody else's performance. And I would much rather have seen Zachary Levi in a fresh character, to where he can bring his Zachary Levi energy to it, the kind of energy we see him bring to Shazam, or even to Spy Kids, the new Spy Kids film. He has his own energy to it, and to ask him to try to just recreate what Mel Gibson brought to the project, no, I wouldn't do that. I would just have Mel Gibson come back and do his thing. Um, and the fact that Mel Gibson's voice has aged over time, probably so have the rest of the people. I mean, Lynn Redgrave is now older than she was, and I'm sure any other returning cast members also sounds 23 years older than they did. So yeah, I would have him come back. I hate to say that, but I think it's weird. It's weird to ask Zachary Levi to try to pretend to be Mel Gibson, which is why I gave you the Return of Jafar note at the beginning, because instead of having a voice actor come in and create a new character for Return of Jafar, we kept Genie, but instead we hired somebody else and told them to sound like Robin Williams. I just am not that impressed by that. And especially, at least with Aladdin, I wasn't familiar with the voice actor, but here I'm very familiar with Zachary Levi and what he's able to do. It just doesn't feel like a Zachary Levi performance for me. So it kind of just misses the boat. It's kind of like, I see what you're trying to do. I see what you're trying to dodge. I don't think your movie is that great. I think when you're trying to appease everybody and make the sequel, you're already struggling by making a movie that's 23 years after the original. That's going to just wind up on Netflix. It's not going theatrical. It's. I mean, maybe it had like a qualifying. I'm sure it had a qualifying run because it's being run for animated feature, and I know it premiered at the London Film Festival. So, but I don't know. I have so many questions about why do we do this? Why does this film exist? Why do we make changes? Why do we make these cuts? And I don't know. It's very. I don't know that it was for the better. However, I think this film has a different tone. This film is very much not afraid to draw those conclusions about where the chickens go, and the fact that they were bold enough to let one nameless chicken get turned into chicken nuggets. I mean, it's something. It's trying to say something, at least. It's not really saying anything about, um, some of the terrible chicken plants where they just pack chickens in and they're not free range and they're just trapped and they don't do anything and they can't move and they just either make eggs or they're there to just die. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not doing that. I mean, instead, we want people to think that the chickens have mini golf when they go to these places, at least. Well, I know that my chicken nuggets came from one of those characters in Chicken Run, but at least he got to play mini golf before he died. So I'm enjoying my chicken nuggets. Surprise, they don't all get to play mini golf. So, I don't know. It is what it is. I don't think this needs to be nominated for the Oscar this year. It's not even Netflix's best original film. I like Nimona way more. I like The Monkey King way more. So this is just, I don't know why Aardman is doing this. This feels like when Pixar made Cars 2 and we were all sitting around looking just like, what is this and why did we make this? Why did Pixar put their name on it? It was a substantially reduced quality film from what they were usually making. And this feels like from Aardman, I'm like, it's not that you haven't made sequels before, but why this? It's not a franchise you've been continuing. It's not like there was a Chicken Run movie that came out 10 years ago and this is the third film. You waited 23 years to make a sequel to Chicken Run. And then this is what we have with this cast. And I just don't know. I'm just not that impressed. So, but I also, I would not recommend the original Chicken Run, and this one I feel a little bit more neutral about. If parents are asking me, do I think my kids will like it? Yeah, probably. I would think about what you're feeding them that night before watching the film, because I don't know that they're going to be excited about eating chicken for dinner. And if they've just eaten chicken, I don't know how that's going to turn out for you. So those are things to consider. But audio description was very nice, very well done. It's nice because it helps you follow, like, this film expects that you've just seen Chicken Run and that you remember. There's a light little recap for those at the beginning that is told by Rocky's perspective, which makes Ginger, Teddy Way Newton's character, look really good. And like, she was the big star of the original film, and she saved the day, and it was all her. So it's sort of like a little bit of a revisionist history because Rocky, like, luckily was willing to like leave himself out of the whole thing because I guess they're in love and he's just, trying to tell the story of how awesome Ginger is. Anyway, so there's a little bit of a recap, but it doesn't go into who all of those other chickens are. I don't remember any of them. I don't. They're followed by like an ensemble of chickens that are all from the original. I don't know. I don't remember them. I don't. It's been 23 years. That's expecting a lot of me, and I think it's expecting a lot of any audience. My big recommendation would be if you can watch the original Chicken Run, watch it first. If you've never seen Chicken Run, I have no idea what your experience is going to be like. So go with God, because they do give a light little sort of like how we got here. It takes about a minute at the top of the film, but it still doesn't explain the rest of the chickens and who they are. And then they just kind of start following around, but they act like they've been best friends for life. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody has a relationship and a dynamic, and cool. All right, let's do it. They pull back characters. They go and get some rats to help them out. And I'm like, I don't know where these rats came from, but fuck it, let's do it. I don't remember this film 23 years ago, but so I think it would behoove a lot of people to watch the original film, especially if you've never seen it. But I just didn't want to. I didn't think anything was going to change my opinion on it. It didn't do any. It really didn't do anything for me the first time around. I was surprised this film did anything for me at all. That I laughed, that I thought a couple things were inventive or cool, that they made any choices that impressed me, and there were some. So I'll say that. I actually really enjoyed Frizzle as a character. Felt like a solid new character introduction, which is always nice when you're able to introduce a character into the sequel that actually feels like, oh, this is a fun character. So there's some positives here, which is why I'm not tanking this grade. However, I'm going to give Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget a C. I definitely think there are better films out there, and I think, judging from what I've seen from other critic scores, this film is scoring significantly lower than the original Chicken Run, so I think everybody agrees that there are better films out there. However, I'm probably the one person in the world that would actually score this film above the original Chicken Run, even ever so slightly. Even if it was a C- to a C, I still would rather see this film again than I would the original Chicken Run. So, probably never going to watch either of them again. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I have a website, MacTheMovieGuy.com. You can follow me on X, Twitter, or Instagram at MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what is audio description, where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it. I'll see you on the other side.